Hello everybody and welcome to another part of Wednesday Night Warrior. This week we are doing another episode on how to improve at Magic the Gathering. I am Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic week in and week out. You can check them out on constructivecriticism.com or here on the YouTube channel, or, wherever you're listening. You'll probably find it pretty easily unless you're on manadeprivate.com. Shout out to you guys. But this week we're going to talk about doing your research. So this is part 4. We've talked about making a commitment to get better at Magic. We've talked about different things that you can do. Hang out with the right people, playing in the right places. This week we're going to dive into doing research and how it can help you. Oh my gosh! Look, you're already doing it. You are already doing your research by watching a video about getting better at Magic the Gathering. So step 1 of this part is pretty much complete. You're already going out and looking for ways to improve, and that's a huge deal. That means that you don't want to just be some other guy. There's a documentary on Magic the Gathering that's on Netflix right now called Enter the Battlefield, and in that documentary you hear Reed Duke say, one day I decided that I didn't want to just be another grinder. I wanted to be one of the best. And that was what we talked about a few weeks ago when we talked about doing your when we talked about making the decision. He made a decision, a mental decision, to improve at Magic the Gathering and become one of the best. It wasn't like he just woke up one day and was one of the best players. He made a mental effort to do that. This is one of those steps forward after that. So research in Magic is just putting yourself into a position to have the correct knowledge base you need going into an event. So basically, there are tons of things that you can do to do research. Listen to podcasts, read articles, watch Magic content. Anything you can do to devour what's going on around you is going to give you an edge over your opponent that isn't doing those things. Looking at deck lists and results, it's kind of important to know what wins the big events, because those are the kind of decks that people are going to be like, either they're going to want to play it or they're going to want to beat it. So knowing just small bits of information as to what might be your opponent's, brain can give you a huge edge. Whether that's knowing that Tom Ross is crushing it with humans, or not. There's just having the knowledge that Tom Ross sideboards into red cards, right? Having something like the red-white manland on your radar when you're playing against mono-white humans, that's going to be important, because if you don't have that information, you can get caught off guard and just lose to that Needle Spires. So, and then also just knowing what the best players are talking about. The best, Channelfireball, Star City Games, they're going to be your bread and butter when it comes to finding this information. Even if Brad Nelson doesn't play the deck he posts about, you can sure bet that other people are going to see what Brad says to play in Standard or what he's doing in Standard, and they're going to apply that into their playtesting, into their games. And that's a huge deal. That means that you have the knowledge that Brad is posting and others don't, right? That doesn't mean that you have to do exactly what Brad says, but if you don't listen to what Brad is saying, if you don't listen to what these pros are saying, and other people are doing it, you're losing out on information that others have, and that others might be utilizing for you to take that to the next level. So that's pretty important. One thing that you'll find is if you don't know the tech that came out last week, you're basically going to be 2 steps behind, because decks just get better and better. Decks don't stay stagnant, right? Unless the format is actually broken and somebody literally figured it out, the decks are going to improve. They're going to play different cards each week to beat the cards from the week before, right? So if you're just playing the same 75 that you're playing here, and people are like, okay, well, we're here, now we're here, you could find yourself where this deck beats this deck, but at the same time, if you're not prepared for here, then you're at a disadvantage anyway. Even if this beats this, if you didn't prepare for this, you're going to be in trouble. So, always make sure that what you're doing and what you know matters, because you need to be able to beat the decks that are doing well and the cards that people are playing either in your major or minor matchups, right? You can't just go in and week out with the same 75 and expect to do the same every week. Even people that win GPs back-to-back weeks or do different things, they don't play the same 75. They change something most of the time. And the reason that they do that, also, they don't really win GPs back-to-back weeks. There's 2 people who have done that. But when they are preparing for the event, they take what they learned from the X event, right? From the event over here, and then they apply it over here, and they do something different. And that's a pretty big deal. That's something that you, me, and everyone else can do just by learning week in and week out. And if you look at what those players are doing that are winning those GPs and going to those events, then you learn with them. It's one thing that my boss says, is that smart people don't have trouble with change, and that dumb people really do. And the reason he says that is that it's so much easier for a smart person to adapt. And you are a smart person. You're going out there and doing the research. You can go and adapt. You can adapt to what happened last week and bring it with you next week. And that's going to make you a better Magic player. And doing that research and looking at those deck lists, reading those articles, those things are going to improve you as a Magic player faster than if you didn't do those things. Eventually, you're going to play against a deck, learn that that deck exists, and you're going to then learn how to beat it and go on and move forward. But if you're already looking at the deck lists that are winning, you're already doing your research. A great example of this is at the PPTQ earlier this year, if you listen to the podcast, Michael Hindrocker won a PPTQ. He beat me in the finals, where he was playing Bant Company, and he played against the Mirror a couple times. And he was playing Eldrazi Displacer, and they were not. And Eldrazi Displacer, so the deck had won an SCG in the hands of Jim Davis. The next week, Jim Davis showed up to the SCG with Eldrazi Displacer. And then we played in a PPTQ. And we showed up, and he was playing Eldrazi Displacer, because Jim Davis was playing Eldrazi Displacer, and he just won the event with the deck. He didn't do any testing with it. He just showed up. This was like week 2 of the format, and he won the event, and he beat those mirror matches, and they were like, oh my gosh, that card's insane. I can't believe I didn't think of that. And it's like, well, neither did Michael. Michael just went and saw what Jim Davis was talking about and doing, and applied it to his game, right? It gave him an edge in his local metagame because he went and did the research. So, to wrap up, go out there and devour Magic content. Go out there and do your homework. Go looking for ways to improve at Magic, and go looking for ways to gain an edge. Because if you don't do that, you're going to level out and stay stagnant, and you're going to lose more. It's a huge opportunity for you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to check out the podcast at constructivecriticism.com, as well as all the other content here on YouTube and on our website. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.